I think that finding that purpose and never truly giving up on myself is the reason I'm still here today. But it also has ignited a fire inside of me to help others find that purpose, help others find that sense of worth and where they can provide value to other folks.
Welcome back, folks, to The Long Game. I'm Josh Sparks, CEO and founder of Infinity Home Services. Today, I'm with a young, inspiring gentleman named Nick Zavala. He is one of our second-gen leaders who helped grow American Home Contractors on the East Coast from a kind of a paper-based storm year scramble company into a $40 million juggernaut of a residential company with some solar stuff along with it. He is a expert, one of the leading experts in solar roofing in the country. He's a very gritty, kind of really hands-on leader that takes care of his people and takes care of his customers, which is I think why he has been so successful. It's been an amazing story there. So welcome, Nick Zavala, to The Long Game.
Well, thank you for having me, and what an intro.
Yeah. Is there anything I said that wasn't true?
No, I think it's pretty accurate, but thank you for the intro.
Beautiful. You guys also, so when we make partnerships, we do a kind of design creative refresh. So we look at branding, and we had our team come in and look at the branding. And I have to say, and even though I started Infinity Roofing, which is my company, back when I was 18 years old, and I like the branding there, I do think that your logo is pretty freaking cool. I mean, I wear this hat all the time, so I think they did a pretty nice job. Yeah. So Nick, take us through, maybe a little bit of early life with you, how you got into roofing, maybe back to the early days. What got you into roofing, and how did you become involved with AHC?
Sure. I feel like most folks, I kind of fell into roofing. It wasn't a choice from day one. Certainly not where I thought life was going to take me, but I'm just so grateful and happy that it did, and getting into the trades. So early on, from 13 on, I did miscellaneous construction work throughout summers, weekends, generally with some of my friends' dads and whatnot, painting, digging holes, built a lot of character, I feel like. Stuff like that. And in 2016, I started to take it a little bit more seriously. I had graduated high school, went to college for a brief time, went through a tough period of time where I really had no direction. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I was trying to figure that out, like a lot of young people do. And I fell into a decent company in Baltimore. And I was doing home renovations, learning cabinetry, carpentry. We did 2 to 3 houses a year. So really a small shop, but really got my hands on the trades there, and did that for a while. And one of the folks that I worked with early on, when I was a teenager and later on, my buddy Daniel, he had been doing roofing for quite a while, with his stepdad from 14 on. I think he was working on the ground and then finally worked his way up on the roof, so on and so forth. And he was actually working here at American Home Contractors. And at the time, I was still doing just labor. I think I was making like $15 an hour. I was very happy doing what I did. And he said, "Hey, you gotta come to this company. They're doing something really exciting. And you can learn some additional skills, move into a different position, maybe do a little bit of hybrid, some field and office, use that brain of yours." And I shot him down for about a year. I was really into my fitness, my health, and I just enjoyed carpentry at the time. So I was doing that for quite a while. And then one day, he just kept poking me, and I think we were just hanging out, and he's like, "Look, I will pay you $20 an hour, just to come learn and see if this is something that you're actually interested in." I took him up on that offer, and I came and worked with him, and he paid me out of his own pocket, I think, for 2 weeks. I started doing some of the production tasks, learning how to order a roof, going on site with the roof crews, sending out gutter orders, ordering measurement reports, just some basic production. And I said, I actually kind of enjoy this. And moving from, kind of a slow paced 2 to 3 job a year, hands-on carpentry position, to a fast paced production style company where you're doing high quality work. But it was certainly a lot larger than the company I was at. So after a 2 to 3 week period, I said, yeah, I'd love to give it a shot. I met with the founder. He offered me a position, and the rest is history. So I came on board. That was about 8 years ago, and I became the production manager of the Maryland location that I'm at today.
That's a great story, man. I love it. How much, for those who know me, and I've spent a lot of time together, know my story. I grew up in Oakland to a single mom addicted to heroin, had a difficult childhood, and a lot of pain and suffering as a kid. And I always think that builds character for future development, right? If you've gone through the tough things, the things you go through today seem to be, pale in comparison. And I know you also struggled a bit early on. How much credit do you give to that for your drive today, or, what makes you who you are today?
Sure. I think adversity is key to becoming a strong individual, strong leader. You have to go through things in life. Sometimes folks go through adversity just because that is what life is dealt. Sometimes folks choose to go through more adversity because they have to learn the hard way, or they just make poor choices. I certainly took my fair share. I was a young man from 18 to about 20, 21 years old. I made some very poor choices, went through some issues with addiction, in and out of institutions. And I certainly think that I put myself through all those things. I had a good family, always had a dinner on the table, came from good stock, and I had to put myself through those challenges to figure out what I wanted out of life and what I don't want out of life. So I think that finding that purpose and never truly giving up on myself is the reason I'm still here today. But it also has ignited a fire inside of me to help others find that purpose, help others find that sense of worth, and where they can provide value to other folks. So I definitely struggled early on. I call it self-inflicted. And I truly think it was because it was a lack of direction, lack of purpose at the time. But it's what I needed to go through to get to where I'm at today. And I'm thankful to be here. Thankful that I was able to get through that, and just hope to be able to pass on those lessons that I learned to others in a more constructive way.
Man, I appreciate you sharing that, Nick. It was very heartfelt, and I know that story, and I know it made you the man who you are. And I know I'm not much older than you. I am a little older than you, but I'm proud of you, man, for finding the light. Everybody has their own battles. I think it was Robin Williams said that everybody's fighting a battle you know nothing about. So be kind always. Whether you had a good childhood or a bad one, people have internal struggles you don't know. So be kind to people, let them find their way. And I'm so happy that you found your way and you're as successful as you are today. So maybe shifting back to business a little, Nick. Again, we were in our infancy and as a platform, and we weren't offering the support at that time that we have today. And you guys had kind of an internal, who wants to take this business and grow it? And you emerged on the top. You want to talk about that process at all, or maybe just talk about what that looked like?
Sure. I mean, I stepped into the role June of last year, so 2024. Ever since I really caught my stride at American Home, I'd always been telling the founder, Steve, I want to either purchase or lead the business. After that first year where I really just fell in love with what we were doing with our team, for our customers, our homeowners, it just became a dream of mine. So I was very vocal about that early on. I think just as we continue to grow, I became more involved with every facet of the business. And post partnership, Things start to change. We get more resources. We start to learn from other brands, and head in another direction. And the existing leadership is also entering a different phase of their career and a different phase of their involvement in the business. So I think naturally the progression sort of moved moved in that direction, and I feel as though I was groomed or provided the opportunity to learn to become that individual. Ever since day one, I always asked for whatever spare time there was, whether it was 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, or weekends, or whatever time I could get, to just learn more and keep learning. Just always be curious, and that's what's really led me to being in the role or position I'm in today.
That's well said. John Maxwell's got the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, and the first law, I think it's the first law. No, the first law is the law of influence, or maybe it's the law of the lid. But the one I'm talking about is the law of the lid, which is, oftentimes when we make partnerships with companies, the limiting factor of the growth of the business is the person at the wheel and some people in the organization. And so, when you look at your staff, obviously you came from production. And actually, I had to segue just for a second here. Can I tell a quick story?
Sure.
So we partnered with a company named Exterior Medics, Joe and Mark, that aren't too far from where American Home Contractors does business. And after the partnership, Nick let me know that he actually once applied at Exterior Medics, and they didn't give you a job. What the hell? Did you?
They did not. I met with Ricardo. I think I got him excited, and then I met with Mark. I did not meet with Joe, but I did meet with Mark, and met briefly with him. He sent me a personality test. I think it was an Enneagram, and I never heard back. So I think I just wasn't a good fit.
Wow. I tell you what, right now, I know Mark very well, and he regrets that decision a lot. So he's like, son of a bitch. I missed it, but anyhow, so
the timing was wrong.
You went from production into leadership, and that transition is more than just doing. Now it's about understanding and leadership development and developing people, and really recognizing the talent that you have around you, and does that talent have the ability to grow into the role that it needs today, but also future for that position? How do you go about recognizing that talent, or developing, or recognizing it's not the right fit?
Sure. I think giving folks as much direction as possible, setting goals, and really showing them what we can do, especially when you have new folks, and making sure they're on board with that. They're going to need to want to grow and be a part of that growth culture, doing what it takes to take care of our customers, and giving them benchmarks to hit. I think that's key, and making sure to have those hard conversations up front, making sure that you have that dialogue or communication with your team. I think that's critical to be successful.
Yeah, well said. And I think I've witnessed this myself. I think you've done a great job of it. You recognize that culture is very important. If somebody doesn't align with the cultural values of the company, they're gone. You've had to let go of people because they didn't have that alignment. You also then, like you had mentioned, put goals in place, and you hold your teams accountable to really what winning looks like. You're like, here's what winning looks like in that role. You either have the skill set to do that, or you don't. You fit with the cultural values, or you don't. And I think you've done a great job of identifying that, which is really what has helped unlock your success, along with Tesla. Everybody wants to know about Tesla, Nick. Everybody wants to know. You guys do a really cool product. You do very well at it. What are you guys? We're number one, number two in the country.
I think we're number one in terms of volume. I'd say definitely number one in terms of quality. Just we've been doing it for quite a while now. This is the brainchild of Dave Silverstein. Between 2018 and 2019, we've been discussing solar. We had a huge windstorm in 2018. So all of our focus at that point in time was, hey, taking care of the folks in our community. I mean, I remember I drove like 4 or 5 hours through that windstorm, and my car was getting blown around the highway. And I got back home, and a huge oak tree in our front yard, down in the middle of the street, Had to pull out my saw, try and cut it up. And there was a ton of damage. It's like nothing we'd ever seen before. Just like the 1 in 100 year storms. So our focus had really been there to make sure we were taking care of as many customers as possible. But after that, in 2019 is when we doubled back down on looking at solar. And Dave had really pushed forward on this idea and made the connection at IRE with Tesla. They had a tiny little booth, and we onboarded. And then at the time we had started with the GAF Decotech solar integrated product. That was the first system that we had installed. And Tesla had really always been at the forefront. And funny enough, when I'd been working at the builder, the first project that I worked on, it was a beautiful home in Baltimore. It was a little cottage that we did an addition on, all hand routed cedar siding. And the homeowner had really, really wanted the Tesla solar roof. So we had tried to get it at that time. It was not available. I believe that was 2016, 2017. And it just wasn't available. We had pushed hard, couldn't do it, so we had moved on. So then in 2019, it comes back, and it came kind of full circle, and we onboarded as a CI. COVID hits, and everybody goes dark. The world shut down for a little bit there, and we finally got some communication back. We had to, do this home training kit, pretty much just show that we had the competency to do the product. We had to have a few projects lined up, which we did. One of those was Dave's house. And pretty much on the weekends and after hours, we built a mock roof, and we would put it together, take it apart, put it together, take it apart, and record it and send it back to prove that, we could do the system. So we onboarded, we started doing a few jobs, and, went through the growing pains. It's not an easy product, to install. At least back then it was, I think, 300 parts. So 300 SKUs. It was a highly customized system, and, it's really iterated nicely to where it's at today. But it may, saying that we're number one today, it may sound like it's an easy feat, but it certainly took years of hard work. And from that point in time, we started with a ton of product, just showing up at a house, to getting one little storage unit to a second storage unit, to having it in the back of our warehouse here, and so on and so forth, to where we have it today with a fully staffed warehouse for that product. And we've done a few hundred jobs at this point. But yeah, we went from just trying to combine solar and roofing, and just seeing those two industries coming together, to actually making it a huge part of our business today.
I remember when your team came to us and said, "Hey, we want to make an investment in a big investment in a warehouse for Tesla roofing." And I came across my desk, and you and I had a conversation around it, and I approved it because I thought it was a great idea. And you guys had piloted it very well, and you guys had done some great installations. And what's interesting is, some people think that roofing is complicated. But when you go from a, 2 straight slope ranch tear off to maybe a complicated job to a historical job, even a slate jobs, very complicated. You need good craftsmen. Tesla's a whole nother world. I mean, you have to be a borderline world-class craftsman to install that product. And you also then need different services. So maybe talk a little bit about Powerwall. What's the Powerwall, and permitting and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And all of this stuff, we started very small. We had to outsource a lot of that. You got the plan sets, you need the stamps on the designs, you need an electrical team, you need building permits, electrical permits, interconnection, which is your, permission from the utility to install. I've got a red Powerwall too, behind me there on the wall, but that's the battery storage. And we try to install a full ecosystem. So you've got your generation, which is your solar. You've got your battery, which is your storage. And then you've got your load management to make sure that everything is used efficiently. And for that, we use the SPAN Smart Electric Panel. But since we partnered with IHS, we built out a full in-house electrical team. We've got a warehouse. We've got the logistics to move the product around. We've got 4 full-time, crews installing. We've got a virtual and in-person sales team, project management on site, et cetera. So we've got the full gambit there. But yeah, there's so many different components that go into it. It's not just like sell it and install it. And, there's some fine details. There's a very tight-knit process that we have to make sure that we provide a great customer experience, do a beautiful installation, and then give that customer peace of mind, energy independence for many years to come.
And on top of the peace of mind of a great install and a lifetime roof, and it's a lifetime roof, right? 20 years, lifetime for most people, is gorgeous. I mean, it is a beautiful looking product. It's black glass tile, essentially. I mean,
they've got every color, as long as you like black.
Yeah. That's Elon through and through, or Henry Ford, right? I think that's what his line was. So, early in my career, Nick, I was a subcontractor, so I did production, and then moved. Obviously, I had to do sales because I was starting my business, and then I ran projects from the office, and I sold, and my company grew pretty slowly over time. It went from startup to 40 million in over a 15-year period. You went from a project manager ostensibly to leading a $40 million brand in the span of 3 years, 4 years. Like that's incredible, by the way. And what's been the hardest part of that?
I think change management. I think change is really challenging for a lot of folks, and being able to manage that for a team, especially as we scale, and then maintaining and growing that culture that we have, and doing all that simultaneously is certainly a challenge, but it's the almost the most rewarding part of it. So it's like it's difficult, it's hard, and that's why you don't see like 1,000 or 2,000 companies that are that size. And while it is hard, like I said, it's definitely the most rewarding part of it.
I think what you do, I mean, you do a lot of things well, Nick. There's Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Ryan Holiday wrote a book about it called "The Obstacle is the Way," which is the most successful people in the world, the most fulfilled people in the world, never take the easy way. They look at the obstacle and they go that way. They challenge themselves day in and day out. And what I've seen you guys do, what you do personally, right? Just your elevation in leadership and the team that you manage today versus when you started at AHC, but also how AHC approaches business, taking on the hard task, being a residential roofing company doing asphalt shingles, now having a sizable part of your business be Tesla Solar, in which you service how many states now?
We are servicing 10 states.
Servicing 10 states, where you have 10 states that has licensing, permitting, interconnection, electrical stuff, power wall systems, planning and zoning. It's quite impressive. And I was doing a talk last year, Best of Success, and I remember right before I walked up on stage, someone was asking me about working. Hey, I'm a new guy. I got to work. I was told I have to work on my business, not in my business. And I said, "What does that mean to you?" He's like, "Well, I guess I just can't be out in the field. I got to be sitting in the office doing paperwork." I'm like, "That's the stupidest fucking advice I've ever heard from anybody. Like, that's not what you do. That's not how you run a business. You have to have cloud to ground management, I like to call it. You got to be up here to understand. You have to drive strategy of the business, where you're going the next 3 to 5 years, but you also have to understand your systems, your people, and what's happening. And you got to work hard. That's one of our core values, right? Integrity, hard work, and service. You got to be one of the first people in the office, if not the first person, the last person to leave. You have to exemplify the values that you're asking your fellow people and your teammates to adhere to. And I think you do an excellent job of that. I mean, there's no part of the day that our RVP says he can't get a hold of you. If I text you at 9:00 at night, you're responding. You lead by example, Nick, and I think that's why you're one of the reasons I would say why you're so successful. So
I'm going to credit that to my father. The way that he raised me was to always lead by example, always be the first one in, last one out. And if the floor needs to be swept, sweep the floor. You don't just wait for somebody else to do it. And always be involved with your team. So he always taught me that growing up as I'm a first generation. He immigrated here in the early 80s, started his own business, and taught me that from day one. But I love that you brought up Ryan Holiday. Something that I was able to pick up from you early on after we partnered, and I'm so grateful and I was able to, is to practice stoicism. And I start my day every morning with the Daily Stoic, which that's from him. Yeah, and you just need that, especially when you're moving so fast, and you take a second in the morning and start your day with the word. And generally, it's exactly what I need to hear that day. I don't know why. It just so happens. And year over year, I am still reading it every morning. And then I share it with the team.
I love that. I found still in my late 20s, I was, if you're outside looking in, I'm writing a book right now about this, but outside looking in, I was very successful, right? I had a very successful business. I had a family. I had a house and a white picket fence and 2.5 kids. I had all the things you're supposed to have, but I was fairly miserable. I was chasing the ghosts of my past. I had no idea who I was trying to prove what to. I was just never fulfilled. And when I found Stoicism, which is behind me right here, the 4 virtues: wisdom, courage, and justice, and temperance, it's on my arm. I became a more balanced human being. I knew it. I didn't stop my drive. Like, I'm still a driver, but it helped me recognize what I'm driving for. And when you can differentiate those two things, it seems nuanced, but they're important. It makes you a more balanced human being. And I'm glad I was able to pass some of that stuff on to you, because I think sometimes I got to use it. I got to use it hard when I'm sitting in this business today. 25 brands across the country and in Canada. Some of these brand presidents, Nick, they sometimes they're tough. So, no, we got a great team. So I know it's been relatively short, the explosion of your career in really like the growth explosion. But I asked this of kind of all my guests, if you go back, if you were to go back to yourself in 2018 when you started becoming heavily involved in AHC, what would you tell yourself? Would you give yourself any different advice?
Yeah, I mean, and even thinking about earlier, I don't regret anything from the past, because every decision and every moment of our lives have brought us to the point we're at today. But some things that I would encourage myself, if I could, is read more, listen a little harder. We've got 2 ears, one mouth for a reason. You can always work harder. Make mistakes. One thing I learned, I was always told this early on from our founder, was you can make a million mistakes, just try not to make the same one twice. And don't be the deer in the middle of the road that can't make a decision. So just make a decision.
That's great advice. That's sage advice, especially as a scaling business. One thing that comes to an absolute grinding halt when you're growing a business fast is the speed and quality of decision making. It slows down very much, because you have to have a meeting about what time the meeting is going to be, about the meeting to decide whether it's speed or quality. So it gets a little.
Just do.
You gotta be on top of it. Yeah. So there are a fair amount now of founders out there who have kind of sunset their business and put a second gen leader in place who was not the founder, didn't establish the base culture for the business. So for those folks who are listening that are maybe stepping into that seat right now, what advice would you give them? What has made you successful? How do you turn that culture into Nick Zavala's culture rather than the founders? Not that even the other one was bad, but the culture is the leader in the building. So,
sure. I think always ask for help. Be humble. Lead with confidence. Going back to the last thing I said, make decisions. Don't be the deer in the road. Always make a decision. Don't be afraid to make decisions, and listen to your people. I think those simple things, if you do all those things, you'll find a lot of success, and make change. You've got to make changes, because you're a different person. You're a different leader. There's no exact copy, exact clone. And if you do all those things, I guarantee you'll find success.
There's some old Chinese proverb that says no man ever steps in the same river twice, because it's not the same man and it's not the same river, which is pretty interesting. And all right, so I like to end with a couple quick fire questions, but before I do that, for some of those folks listening that are scaling their business right now, what tactical advice could you give them right now that they might try out this week, playbook or something like that maybe that could help them?
Being an operator and somebody that's a pusher, be involved with every aspect of your business. Spend a day scheduling calls, scheduling appointments, meet with homeowners, order a roof on the production side, send out a gutter order, talk to your subcontractors or your in-house guys, get out in the field, pull some wire, lay a shingle, get involved with your team, spend time skipping over your managers from time to time to get feedback from the people in the field that are interfacing with your customers day to day. And you will have a strong grasp of your business and what's going on. I think that, to me, that's the best advice I could give you outside of everything we've already discussed.
Yeah, that's great advice. Oftentimes, business books call it walking the four corners. It's getting out of your office, going out there and see what's happening inside the building, and understanding what processes and strategies that you're saying from on high and how they're actually landing in the field. I think that's important. All right, what's
Absolutely.
your coffee order?
Red Eye.
Red Eye.
Yeah.
What is that?
Hot coffee with a shot of espresso. One a day. That's I have every day.
I don't think I've ever said this, but I drink Death Wish coffee, which like 600 milligrams of caffeine, which is probably terrible for me, but it's awesome.
It's the
favorite
balance
job
in
site
life.
gear.
Favorite job site gear. I probably have to just kind of bunch a few things together. I like the pouch with a flat bar, hammer, snips, hand seamers. You can pretty much do everything you need with that. And my favorite larger tool would be the brake.
The brake. Okay. A business book that every owner should read.
I'm going to give you two. Stoic Challenge by William Irving and The Great Game of Business.
Check that. Great
yeah.
book. Yep. All right. Something customers care about way more than maybe people think.
How you enter their home. When you get invited into somebody's home, do you put shoe covers on, take your shoes off? Are you treating it better than you treat your own home?
And one thing you would never compromise, no matter how big AHC gets.
Our core values and our care for our people and our customers.
I love it. Nick, you're doing incredible work over there. Appreciate everything you're doing for IHS, taking customers out of harm's way. Lots of them. Keep doing what you're doing. Any questions for me?
No, thank you for having me on the pod, and just really looking forward to closing out the year strong and seeing how many customers at the end of this year we've taken out of harm's way.
It will be quite a bit. We've done almost 30,000 so far at IHS, so we're going to keep growing that number.
Yeah. Well, actually, I got a question. What's your next book recommendation for everybody?
My next book.
Yeah. What's the next book that we should all read?
So I bounced back from leadership books to Stoic books. I'm reading Steven Pinker's Enlightenment Now book, which it's kind of a heavy read, so I got to get off of that. Sometimes I get too far away from the core leadership books everybody should read. Jim Collins' Good to Great, very important. If you have a team, if you have a leadership team, Patrick Lencioni's The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team is critical in building a cohesive leadership team. I think those are two very important. And to your point, William Irvin's The Stoic Challenge, that's one of my favorite books, and that's the one that keeps me balanced every day and makes me makes me the person I am today. So all those books, brother. So
Thank you.
thank you so much, Nick. I will, I'm sure I'll be out there soon to the East Coast to visit.
Looking forward to it.
See you, brother.
See ya.